Hello everyone, this is the part 2 of the chapter 15 of ACCA F3 Financial Accounting, which is bank reconciliation. Before watching this video, make sure that you've checked the previous videos as well as the part 1 of the chapter bank reconciliation. In case you haven't checked the videos, I have linked all the playlists in the description box below. Also, if you wish to solve the Kaplan exam kit, I have linked that playlist also in the description box below, so make sure that you check them out. In the previous part, we basically discussed half of the chapter and we discussed the formula and everything. So in this part, we just need to solve the questions. So let's just quickly get an overview again of what we saw. We saw that there are two things. We maintain a cash book and the bank maintains a passbook. Right. And we also saw that the cash book has a debit balance and the passbook has a credit balance. Why is that so? Because cash book is maintained from my perspective and the passbook is maintained from the bank's perspective. So what is a good thing for me might be a bad thing for the bank. Okay, so all this we saw that the cash book balance is the business record of their bank account and the bank statement is the bank's record. Okay, we read all this. We also saw this. We saw that cash is the most vulnerable asset and the reconciliation is always required. So by the end of a period, we reconcile and we see the difference between my cash book and by the bank statement and we match it. So the end goal is to basically have both the balances to be same. Now we saw that these are the type of differences and errors which can take place. If you're again having any doubt, go and watch the part 1. All this we saw all this, we also saw this. Now let's quickly have the format written in an easier format. Let's have the formulas in an easier format. Okay, and make sure that you're writing all this and make sure you have a calculator with you. These are the formulas which we'll be using in the rest of the chapter. Okay, so we saw that we had a cash book, right? And we also saw that we have a passbook, right? Cash book is my perspective, passbook is their perspective, right? And then when you think about the balances, we have two types of balances, debit and credit balance. Okay, so the cash book, what is cash book's balance? It is debit. So if my cash increases, then it gets debited. If my cash decreases, then it gets credited, right? And passbook, it's the opposite. Why? Because we're recording it from the bank's perspective. So if my passbook increases, then credit side. If my passbook decreases, it's my negative. So the balances are opposite for the same. Whenever my cash increases, I debit it, right? So that's what I follow with my cash book, and the opposite is true for passbook. Hope that is clear. Okay, now two types of things can happen. Transactions, either it can be our mistake, either it is our mistake. If it's not our mistake, it is the bank's mistake. These are the two things which can happen, right? It's either my mistake, which means either I have made a mistake in the cash book, or the bank has made the mistake from its end, which has nothing to do with me, right? So these are the only two things which are possible. Okay, so we are going to assume that usually, generally, the mistake is always ours. Usually the mistake is ours. However, there are some exceptions where bank can commit the mistake. Usually it is my mistake. Why is it my mistake? So as an accountant, it is my duty to check my bank statement and cash book every single day. So every day when the day ends, it is my responsibility to download the passbook, to download the bank statement and reconcile and check if I have missed something and I need to update my cash book. So that is my duty to do that. Okay. So almost everything is our mistake. The only things where it is not our mistake is when it is the bank's mistake. Now, bank's mistake. What can be bank's mistake? So the first thing which can be bank's mistake is unpresented checks, and the second one can be lodgements unclaimed. So even though we have already discussed this in the previous video, I'm still just revising it. So what is unpresented checks? I have given my check, I have issued my check to somebody, but they have not presented it yet. They have not given it to the bank yet. So when I write the check and give it to someone, I am subtracting it from my cash book, right? But it is not my mistake that they haven't given it in the bank yet, right? That's not my mistake. So that is what is unpresented check, that they have not presented the check to the bank yet. What about lodgements unclaimed? Somebody gave me a check. I went and I lodged it in the bank. So I wrote in my cash book that yes, I have received a check of $10, whatever. But the bank has not claimed it yet. I have lodged the check. I have given it to the bank, but the bank will take some time to process it and then credit it to my account. So the bank hasn't done it yet. So that is what is known as lodgements unclaimed. I haven't claimed it in my bank yet because bank hasn't put it in my bank yet. Again, that is bank's fault. That is not my mistake, right? So these are the two things which we also studied in the previous part. What is the third mistake which the bank can make? Bank charges. Bank charges is also again something which the bank can, not bank charges, bank mistakes. Sorry, not bank charges, I mean bank mistakes. Like any other sort of mistakes which the bank commits, which will be given in the question. Okay, so these are the three types of mistakes which the bank can make. Rest all are a mistake. When I say my mistake, I meant the cash book mistake. Okay, that's clear now. Let's go to the formula. Okay, cash book. So whenever it is my mistake, what do I mean by my mistake? When I say my mistake, I mean that the error has been committed in the cash book, which means I have to make changes in the cash book. If it is not my mistake, if it's the bank mistake, then I will not make any changes. The bank will be making changes in the passbook, right? So how am I going to reconcile and how am I going to make the changes in my cash book? It's just normal. What is the cash balance? It's debit. So my opening balance, my balance brought forward, if it's a debit balance, would be this side. Otherwise, if it's a negative balance, then my balance would be this side. Simple. Okay. And whatever, when you're reconciling and when you're checking whatever the mistakes are, if my cash will be increasing, then I will debit it. Why? Because my cash book balance is debit. If I have the adjustments which will reduce my cash, then I will put it on the credit side. Very simple. And then you'll be having the balance, whichever side. Okay. Now, there's one thing you need to always remember in general. I've said this a multiple times, but after you do the totaling and the balancing, if I say I have a debit balance, what does that mean? I'm going to cross this side, right? This is what I mean, that it's a debit balance, because after crossing it is coming on the debit side. This is going to come here. So this is going to be my credit balance. After crossing which side it comes, that will be your balance. So in the question, if it is given debit balance of cash book is this much, that means they're talking about the value after the crossing is done. Okay. That is how you adjust things in the cash book when it is our mistake. Now let's go and see how you edit the bank statement. Okay, we don't edit the bank statement, the passbook. Okay, every time I said passbook, I meant bank statement. The meaning of passbook and the bank statement is one and the same thing. I have repeated this multiple times in the previous video as well, that passbook is the same as the bank statement. So do not get confused with that. Okay. Now, how are we going to start the bank statement? How are we going to rectify the errors in the bank statement? when we had to rectify the errors in the cash book, we made the account and we adjusted everything and we got the new balance, right? Now what do we do in the bank statement? First, you will be given balance. So in the question itself, you will be given balance as per the bank statement. So whatever balances, it will be given in the questions. Now, again, we need to see it from the bank's perspective. If there is something which the bank, if there is something which would say, let's say if the bank has to make changes, if the bank has to, let's say, made a mistake, okay, there has been a unpresented check, but in my cash book I have subtracted it, so now the bank should subtract it too, right? So that in that situation the bank will subtract. And if, let's say, unclaimed check, it's bank mistake, so bank will add that. Okay, so the passbook or the bank statement will always be in the bank's perspective. After doing all this, in the end you will be left with the new balance, which is the revised balance. Whatever the revised balance would be, that would match with my cash book's new balance. Okay, so my new cash book balance will match to my balance bank reconciliations revised balance as well. Okay, so let me check what's next. Okay, again, unclaimed lodgements or unclear lodgements is the same thing. And again, we've gone through all this. And we know that in the bank, if we need to make changes in the bank statement, we know that there can be only two mistakes. So if it is outstanding lodgements, that means it is something which bank needs to add into my account. And if it's unpresented checks, they haven't presented the check, that means the bank should minus. I hope you are clear with the plus and minus, how we are doing it. See it from the perspective of the bank. Okay. Now there are some things we need to keep in mind. Be aware of the overdrawn balances on the bank statement. What do you mean by overdrawn? Overdrawn is always on the negative side. So when I say negative side of the bank statement, what is it? The usual balance of bank statement is credit. So when I say negative balance, it would be on the debit side. So you know what overdrawn is. Sometimes the banks would, sometimes the customers would like to take loan which is more than what is there in their bank. So that is what is known as bank overdraft. Be aware of debit and credit to the bank statement. If someone says that the bank statement was debited, that means money has been taken out. The bank statement was credited with 50 rupees, that means money has been put into the bank account. Be aware of aggregation of deposits in a bank statement. So everything, these are the things which will be given in the question, and you need not be confused of anything. We'll just be solving all the questions and it will be clear for you all. Okay. Now we are done with the chapter. We just have to solve the questions. Let's just quickly go with the question now. Test your understanding 2. Where's my test your understanding 1? Let me just quickly check it. Okay, this was a test your understanding 1. We have done it in the previous part, so just go through it. I'm asking you to go through it because it will be linked to the other questions. Okay, test your understanding 2. In preparing an entity's bank reconciliation, the accountant finds that the following items are causing a difference between the cash book balance and the bank statements. So what are we supposed to do right now? What's in the question? Which of these will require entry in the cash book? So when does something have an entry in the cash book? If it is my fault, then there is an edit in the cash book, right? Direct debit 530. Direct debit 530. Is it going to come in my edit in my cash book? Yes. Why will it come in my cash book? Because it is my duty. Even though it was a direct debit, it's my duty to check the I have to download the bank statement and check it every day, and I should have edited. It is my fault. So that is something which is going to come. Lodgements not credited. Lodgements not credited. That is always bank's mistake. We know that. Check paid in by the entity and dishonored. Check has been paid in by the entity and dishonored 234. Take a moment and try to understand. Check, I have paid and it has been dishonored. It's your duty to check every day and see, did it get dishonored? And you need to reconcile that. You have to check every day and see if something has been dishonored, right? Outstanding checks. Okay, outstanding bank's mistake. Bank charges 100. Bank charged 100 rupees. It is my duty to every day check and see what transactions I have missed. So this also. Error by bank. Check incorrectly credited. Okay. Now this is a bank mistake or the bank error. So this is not my mistake again. So my answer would be 1, 3 and 4. 1, 3 and 5. 1, 3 and 5. So my answer is going to be B. Okay. Now let's go to test understanding 3. It's a very big question, but we're going to do it. We have a question given here. We have the following information has been extracted from N. Patel bank account. So we have a bank account. This is my debit side. This is my credit side. So we have balances and everything. So we've been given everything in the question. So now this what is given is my bank statement. What is the previous one? This is my bank account. What are we supposed to do? We are supposed to prepare a bank reconciliation statement, update the cash book, prepare a bank reconciliation as of 31st December. Okay. So this is opening and this is closing. Now, I would suggest you to pause the video and start solving the question on your own and then play the video and check it with me. Or solve it along with me, otherwise there is no point of watching this video. The first thing which we need to do, if you see the A part, it says that we need to prepare a reconciliation statement of 1st December and we need the cash book for December, that means closing. And the third one says a bank reconciliation statement at 31st December. So we either ways have to prepare closing cash book at closing BRS. BRS means bank reconciliation statement. Before that, we need to prepare a bank reconciliation statement as at 1st December, which is basically opening. Let's start with that. Okay, so the first thing which we are doing is preparing BRS for 1st of December as given in the question. So how do we start it? First we have balance, right? Balance as per bank statement. Whatever is the balance as per bank statement on 1st December. So my balance is in the bank statement. I'm checking 1st December 17478. 17478 and 8. Okay. Now, you remember what the mistakes of the bank can be? Lodgements unclaimed, unpresented checks and bank mistakes. These are the only things. So let's see for lodgements unclaimed. The test to understanding 3 is a little bit complicated one and I don't think that's good. It's good to start with that question because it's very complicated and lengthy. We will do that. Don't worry about that. But before that, let us first do test to understanding 4 and I will end the video with that. You can try to solve test to understanding 3 by yourself, but don't worry, even if you're not able to solve, in the following videos I'm going to make a Kaplan exam kit solution video. So we'll be solving all the Kaplan exam kit questions of this chapter. After doing that, I will be discussing the test to understanding 3 in that video. So don't worry about that, but it's just too complicated right now. Okay, so we have Amy's cash book and this is the debit side and this is the credit side. We have receipts this side, we have balance brought forward this side, which is a negative balance in the case of bank account or the um, cash book, right? And all receipts are banked and payments are made by check. Now we have to basically identify what is my mistake and what is the bank's mistake. Bank charges of 136 entered on the bank statement had not been entered in the cash book. Whose mistake is this? My mistake. Checks drawn amounting to 267 had not been presented to the bank for payment. Okay, so we have drawn and we have given it to someone, so we have subtracted it from my cash book, but they haven't presented to the bank, which means it is unpresented check. Whose fault is this? Bank's fault or that person's fault. A check for $22 had been entered as a receipt in the cash book instead of a payment. Whose fault is this? My fault. A check drawn for 6 has been incorrectly entered in the cash book as 66. Whose fault? My fault. So these three are my fault and this is the bank's fault. So we need to rectify it as it is. Okay. So how am I gonna start with this? I'm gonna first make a cash book, okay, or a bank account or a cash book, not the bank statement. Don't get confused. All right. And how am I gonna start with it? In the question we have a balance. We have a negative balance of 761, right? We have a negative balance of 761. So how am I going to go about this question? Try and think about it. Okay, I hope you thought about it. So this is of December 2006, okay? And we are also supposed to find December 2006. So when we are making a new bank account, which balance am I going to use? Am I going to use a balance brought forward or carried forward? Obviously, I'm going to take it to the other side and use that as my balance. So this is given here. I'm just going to take it to the other side and use 554. I hope you understood. This is basic. We've done it. So that is why I have a balance over here, balance brought forward, which is 554. Okay. So we are making changes. Whatever is my mistake, that I'm going to do now. Bank charges of 136 entered on the bank statement. So bank has subtracted it, but I haven't subtracted it. So since bank is reducing, it will be over here, right? Bank charges, which is 136. Because bank is reducing, I am putting it on the credit side. Second, I'm not going to do anything in the cash book because it is the bank's fault. A check of 22 has been entered as a receipt in the cash book instead of a payment. Okay. So it had to be a payment, but it was written on the receipt. So first I will put it on the payment side. So if I have a receipt entry, if I have a payment entry, the first thing I'll do is reverse it. It gets nullified and then I put the actual entry, right? So if I already put it on the receipt side, first I will also put it on the payment side. Then what happens? Both of them get nullified. And then I put the actual entry, which is payment. So this means I will put it twice. I hope you understood this simple concept. So we have 22. What is the double of 22? 44, right? So first time I'm putting on the payment side, it is to get nullified. The second time I'm putting it on the payment side, it is for the payment. Whatever error it was, receipt and payment, 44. That's why I'm doing double entry. I hope you understood. Okay. The fourth one. A check drawn for 6 has been incorrectly entered into 66. So I had to put money going out as 6. I had to put the money going out as 6. But I have put that the money going out is 66. Money going out would be on the credit side. But I had to put only 6. So out of this, 60 I have to remove. If I have to remove from the credit side, I will debit it by 60. Very simple. So I'm debiting it by 60. That's it. Now you just have to do the balancing. Whatever balancing would be 734, 734. So this will be my balance CF. I hope you got it. Now let's make a bank statement or a bank reconciliation statement. BS is bank statement. So what is the balance as per bank statement on 31st December 2006? Is it given in the question? Think about it for a second. It's not given, right? Since it is not given, what do you have to do in this situation? We saw in the formula that the first thing we need to put is the balance as per bank statement. So since that is not given, it means that rest everything is given. Okay. So what is the final value which we get? Balance as per cash book, right? It should match. We know that this should match with the cash book balance. So what is my cash book balance? It was 674, right? So I'm going to put 674. Again, go back to the cash book and see which side it is in. That is very essential. So we had 674. So is it a debit balance or a credit balance? How will you find it? You will always cross it. So it is a credit balance. It is a negative balance, right? So you are going to put it in brackets. Okay? Okay. So what are the mistakes of banks? Bank mistakes. What else? Outstanding check and lodgements unclaimed. We know that. So we mark that only the second one is the bank's fault. Checks drawn amounting to 267 had not been presented to the bank for the payment. So I have already drawn and subtracted from my cash book, but the bank hasn't done it. So the bank has to subtract 267. Unpresented checks. Easy. Now it is very easy to find the balance as per bank statement. Let's call it X. X is equal to minus 267 minus 674. Minus 267 minus 674 would be minus 941. Oh wait, I just made a silly mistake. Yeah. Calculation error. Yeah, balance as per bank statement would give me what? Balance as per bank statement minus 267 will give me balance as per cash book, which is minus 674. This is going to give me minus 407. So my minus 407 would be the balance in my bank statement. Okay, now if it's a negative balance in the passbook, which balance is it, debit or credit? It is debit because it is the opposite, right? So it's going to be D. So my answer is going to be D, 407 overdraft. Overdraft means negative. So I hope you understood how to solve this question. If you have any doubt, watch this video again. Don't worry, it will take some time. And don't get scared looking at the test understanding 3 question. In the following videos, I will be coming up with the solution and I will be solving the exam kit questions. So that's it with this chapter. Try to practice and do the questions by yourself. Thank you.